24 hours with JB. Let's talk. Is it cold enough for you? It's brick out here right now. How's your mental health? First and foremost, before we get into anything, how is your mental health? Ask yourself that. If it's intact, let's keep it that way. If it's not intact, beloved, I've been there. Trust me. I have down days, I have up days, I have okay days, I have great days. Push forward. Speak to somebody. Speak to a therapist. Speak to a friend. Speak to a comrade. Speak to a family member. Speak to somebody. You know what I mean? Be cognizant of who you speak to and what you reveal to that person. This is why therapy is essential, because they sign contracts and things of that nature. Also, they're a stranger. But nonetheless, if you're going through anything that needs some sort of fixing from a mental standpoint, get that help, beloved. Nonetheless, I made a mistake in the stock market that I wanted to share with you all. I've been at this investing thing for quite some time, you know what I mean? And I'm getting better day by day, you know what I mean? I actually made a video on Netflix, right? This was, matter of fact, when the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight came on. I made a video about Netflix then. And prior to that, I had my eye on Netflix, but the thing about Netflix is their stock is very expensive. So oftentimes when stocks get to like $400, $500, $600, like sometimes I let it go, you know what I mean? And I'm seeing that that's not always a good thing, because when those stocks prices do reach that particular price, it's even more room for growth. You know what I mean? You may feel like it's too expensive, or it's out of here at $450, but $850 is still out of here. Then $1,000 is you know what I mean? So in other words, try to find the best price point to get in that, which would be reflected off of the 50-day moving average or the 200-day moving average, one of the two. Those are good numbers to know, as well as support levels. And then you try to, get in as best as possible based off of those numbers. Nevertheless, so let me tell you this one thing. Let me give you a backstory. Netflix, about 2 years ago, right? I wish I had my laptop out so I could pull up the chart, but nonetheless, about 2 years ago, 2 to 3, Netflix wasn't doing as well as they're currently doing, right? And I'm watching the news, I'm listening to the news, CNBC in particular. And on CNBC, the way that they were talking about Netflix, you would have thought that Netflix was going to basically go into bankruptcy and shut down. So they're talking about Netflix. They like, yo, mind you, Netflix is at probably like about 250 around that time, 250-ish. They're talking about, they like, yo, it's over, it's that and the third. And I'm sitting back saying to myself, I'm like, yo, I don't think Netflix is going anywhere. Now, at the time, the company wasn't doing good, you know what I mean? From a financial standpoint, as well as a few other factors. But as I'm listening to them speak on CNBC, they're basically saying that it's completely over for Netflix. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, I take it to a hood perspective or just a culture perspective, and I'm saying to myself, Netflix and chill. I know a lot of people watch Netflix. I know, I know this particular episode has come on. I know they had, I forget the movie, like something pertaining to the bird's eye, bird's view. I know what I'm referring to, as well as a few other things. But nonetheless, I didn't buy the stock, because the stock was just dropping like this, just plummeting is what we call it in finance language. So the stock plummeted probably to like about 140, between 140 and 170. Go look it up. About 140 to $170. Netflix was at that price about 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. Nonetheless, beloved, in this day and age, well, let me fast forward to like the Mike Tyson fight. Fast forward to the Mike Tyson fight, Netflix is up like $850, right? So at that point in time, I'm still stuck on the old Netflix and how I missed out on that uprise, right? Because granted, I could have had Netflix at about 150-ish, 170, right? 200 at the most. So I was always, in my mind, anytime I think of Netflix, I always revert back to that price. See what I'm saying? So when Netflix got to 300, 400, 500, at times I did forget about the stock, yes, but I'm still thinking like it's going to go back to that. Plus, I'm still sort of heartbroken that I didn't catch it at that wonderful price. Nonetheless, I make a video about Netflix at the during the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. It was about probably 8:50ish now that I think about it back then. And you know, I do my research every day. I seen that Netflix was having the football game with Beyonce performing halftime, that whole play. So nonetheless, I seen the whole play and I knew it was further upside for growth, as well as them raising their prices, the password crackdown, that whole thing, right? All of these things I knew, but again, in my mind, the stock is way too high. It's already at $400, $500, $600. So does it even make sense to buy the stock? And this is all a learning experience. Like, I want you to just take notes and just sit back and just vibe with me. So again, I'm seeing the stock rise over time, but I never seen a major pullback or plummet, right? If you're speaking finance language, I never seen that major pullback. So I say that to say, they reported earnings yesterday actually, right? So I've been going over a few things, putting a few things to the putting a few things together, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna start dollar cost averaging. Here's where you get your pen. I'm gonna start dollar cost averaging in a few companies. I posted it on my social media actually, but I'll give you two of the companies: Spotify and Netflix, right? So I'm gonna start dollar cost averaging in those two companies. What does that mean? I'm basically gonna start contributing a certain dollar amount to both companies on a weekly basis, right? And see, the thing about a stock price, Netflix, their current stock price is exponential. It's at a great amount. But let's say, for hypothetically speaking, Netflix's stock price is at $500. If I can't afford to buy that to purchase that $500 stock price, all financial institutions / brokerage firms, they do things differently. But you can essentially buy a piece of the actual stock, right? So if you have a Charles Schwab account, for instance, Charles Schwab, they have a thing so we could buy Charles Schwab stock slices, right? That's a slice of the actual stock. So if Netflix stock is trading at $850, you could put $10 on the stock, right? On Netflix's stock, and therefore you would buy probably like 0.002 shares of Netflix's stock, right? Less than that, but you're basically buying a small percentage of the stock. So nonetheless, you know, I said literally Monday, Martin Luther King Day, I'm doing my research, boom, boom, boom. I put in the shit, I said, I'm gonna start buying the stock. What happened was I didn't do my research in terms of being up to date with the stock market and everything that's taking place. What happened was they reported earnings yesterday. I didn't realize that they reported earnings yesterday until earlier in the day yesterday. So once I seen that, I seen Netflix's stock price go up to $864, but they had a low of $854. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna put, it was either like $25 to $50 on Netflix's stock at $860, and then I'm gonna put $25 to $50 on Netflix's stock at $855. Nonetheless, the stock never touched either price. It pretty much hit $864 and it bounced up to like $870. I should have known from then that the momentum was more bullish and that they were gonna have optimistic results once the earnings reported, right? They reported earnings. Kid you not, Netflix's stock basically went from about $860, $870 all the way to $999. This morning I checked it, Netflix's stock was at $1,000, right? Basically up above 15%. So I say that to say, learn from me. If you're optimistic about a stock, if you know for a fact you use the stock on a daily basis and you can see the utility of the stock, if you could see that, other people are using it, 10 people that I know about this particular company, I use it on a daily basis, he uses it on a daily basis, she uses it on a daily basis, buy the stock. You could dollar cost average, right? So that way you're not timing the stock when it drops or when it goes up. Or you could just contribute a small dollar amount to the stock, and over time you will see a yield on that investment. Learn from me. We may have a pullback coming soon, but at the way that it's looking now, everything is up. heavy on investments.